Hey guys, so for today's video, I have a cheap dupes to your favorite high-end palettes. So I just recently did a cheap dupes to your favorite high-end makeup video and you guys really loved it. So I figured let's focus on eyeshadow palettes for today because I recently received these Wet n Wild palettes in the mail, and as soon as I received them, I was like, dupe, 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 dupe. Like I could call out what they were dupes for. So I tested them out. I love the quality of these. And then it made me think, there's probably some other eyeshadow dupes in my collection. So today I have five high-end eyeshadow palettes that I think are really popular that I found some dupes for. So keep in mind with eyeshadow palette dupes, it's not going to be like exact, like every single shade, same order, same, everything. It's not going to be exact, but the vibes are going to be the same. Like they're going to be very similar. You can achieve very similar looks with these palettes. With eyeshadow palettes, it's going to be hard to find like an exact dupe unless you get like a fake or something that was like purposely exactly copied. Do you know what I mean? Today I'm bringing you guys actual like dupes that weren't copies or fakes or anything like that. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. The first one I really want to talk about is the Jaclyn Hill palette. I've been loving this palette. Like, it's definitely been my go-to. I will say I'm actually wearing it today. I just filmed this makeup look, my holiday makeup look. If you do see me wearing the same makeup look, but it's like days after I uploaded my holiday look, it's because I think I'm like doing some pre-filming for the last week of December. So I love this eyeshadow palette so much. It is gorgeous, but not only that, the quality though is impeccable. Like, she really did an amazing job with the quality. I'm literally not kidding you. It's probably my like most favorite eyeshadow formula. So the dupe that I have for it is one that when I received in the mail, I honestly instantly was like, that's a dupe for the Jaclyn Hill palette. Again, take this like a bit lightly because this palette is obviously has a lot less shades, but they just give me the same vibes, these two palettes. So here we have the Wet n Wild Not a Basic Peach palette. This actually comes out in 2018, so it's just about to launch. Just the vibes that they both have are so similar. Like you have your warm orange there, your peaches there, the blue, the beautiful bronzy gold. So there's just a lot of similarities that both of these palettes have. I don't know, as soon as I got this in the mail, I was like, Jaclyn Hill palette. Like I just got that vibe from it. So I am just dipping into some shadows right now just to show you guys some similarities. So we have this shade from the Wet n Wild palette right there. And then we have this one from the Jaclyn Hill palette, just the beautiful rustic browns. You see how they have a lot of similarities. They both have beautiful like bronzy gold shades. They both also have like really pretty kind of rosy gold shade. There we go. The Wet n Wild one is more of like a pink, whereas the Jaclyn Hill one here is a little bit more coppery. Both palettes have a really nice deep dark brown and also a teal. So this teal in the Wet n Wild palette I can tell is a little bit more blue, whereas let's see, the Jaclyn Hill one is probably going to be a little bit more green, I believe. Yeah. Let me just go back into the Wet n Wild one a little bit. Yeah, so this is a little bit more of a sky blue and this is a little bit more of like an aqua. Like I said, obviously this isn't like an exact dupe where it has the same amount of shades. Every single shade is the exact same, but it's just a great alternative. If you cannot afford the 35 US dollars, I think it's like 45 Canadian-ish for the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette, this is just going to be a much more affordable, more simple go-to drugstore alternative. So next, I want to share with you guys the Too Faced Peach palette. This little palette lives in my everyday makeup drawer back there because I absolutely love this palette. So we have another Wet n Wild palette to dupe it, you guys. This is the same Wet n Wild like palette, but in a different shade. This is Comfort Zone. You guys, this gives me Too Faced Peach palette vibes, and I'll tell you why. I will say, this one is a little bit different just because there isn't that many peach shades in this palette. But funny enough, like I always have said this, for an entire peach palette by Too Faced, there's only like 3 peach shades in the peach palette. You know what I'm saying? So I've always found that the Too Faced peach palette doesn't even have that many peach shades. So it's really not a surprise that the dupe doesn't really either. So like I mentioned, this one is in the shade Comfort Zone. So you have your really pretty like brown shade right there to add into the crease. You have your beautiful green shade. Even though the Wet n Wild green shade is just a little bit more pigmented, they both have a really pretty sparkly kind of purple. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of swatches of the shades that I find are really similar. So these are the two brown mattes, a little bit different, but still very similar. Now to swatch the green. I knew this one was gonna be like more of a bright green, and then the one from the Too Faced palette is a little bit of a deeper green. Both palettes have a really pretty like taupey satiny shade. This is Caramelized by Too Faced, and then this one is this from the Wet n Wild palette. This one is from the Wet n Wild palette, and then this one is Peach Pit from Too Faced. So even though this dupe option does lack like a nice peach, since obviously this has like two peach options, even though it lacks a peach, I feel like it really has a lot of other similar shades that this palette has. It also has this really nice like creamy shade right there. So yeah, I just feel like they're super similar. Of course, they're not exact dupes. Eyeshadow palettes, like I said, are really hard to get like exact dupes for unless you're gonna, you know, get a straight up copy of it. But I just feel like this is a nice little alternative. Okay, so I want to talk about one more shade in the Wet n Wild palette. So this is the Rosé in the Air, and you guys, this is probably like one of the closest dupes. So this is what the palette looks like, and then this is the Modern Renaissance if you haven't seen. Like, how close do these look, you guys? So you have the warm brown, you have the taupe brown, you have the orangey shade, the kind of like burgundy shade, the magenta shade, the lilac purple. You have your gold right there. Out of all the dupes, this is the palette that has like the most shades that are the closest. Like, I feel like every single shade in this palette is in this palette, except this one has a white and this one doesn't have a white. Let's go into the orangey shade and then the orange shade in the Wet n Wild. Whoa, look how close those are. Let's go into the red. So we have Red Ochre from the Modern Renaissance, and then this red shade. So let's go into that mauve-y kind of lilac shade. I think that this is Buon Fresco. I don't even know how to say it. Yeah, so this one is from the Modern Renaissance, and this one is the Wet n Wild. Let's do the two golds just to see how they compare. This is Modern Renaissance, and this is the Wet n Wild. The Modern Renaissance one seems more pigmented than the Wet n Wild gold, but really similar. So this is a palette that's no longer available, but I still use it to this day. This palette's so beautiful. I go for it when I just want like a really soft, sultry kind of bronzy eye. So this is the Anastasia Mario palette. One of my favorite drugstore palettes ever are the Covergirl TruNaked palettes. So this one is the theme Goldens. Let's open it up so you guys can get a closer look. These two palettes just remind me so much of each other because I feel like whenever I want like that bronzy kind of vibe, these are the two palettes that can give you that. So they both have the beautiful olives, they both have the dark bronzy shades, they both have the nice taupe, the nice gold. The only thing that this palette is missing, which I wish it wasn't, are like these two nice brown shades. That's the only thing, but other than that, they both have the taupe, the dark brown. Well, actually you do get a dark brown here, but just not like that rich brown. Anyways, let's go ahead and swatch some of these similar shades. I am going to swatch this bronzy brown. So here are the two different ones. So this one is from the Covergirl palette. It is definitely a little bit more, has a little bit of a more olive undertone, the brown from the Covergirl, and then Kim is a little bit lighter and a little bit more muted, not as pigmented and as metallic as the Covergirl. And then let's go in with the two golds. So we have Fifth Avenue here, and then the Wet n Wild here, really similar. So this is the taupe from the Wet n Wild palette, and then this is the taupe from the MakeupbyMario palette. Definitely a little bit darker, but I just feel like these two palettes have a lot in common. They're definitely not as close dupes as the Modern Renaissance one was, but I feel like you can still get that same like bronzy, olivey vibe with both of these palettes. So next palette I want to share with you guys is one that I haven't used that often, but I like having this palette whenever I do feel like playing with pastels and color. So this is the Kat Von D Pastel Goth eyeshadow palette. It is so beautiful. I feel like I said, this is that go-to palette I go for when I do need some pops of color. So I have two alternatives to share with you guys. So this one is the main one that I really want to share. So this is actually the palette that I go for when I want to use color from the drugstore. This is the Wet n Wild Poster Child eyeshadow palette. I always forget the name of it, but you guys have seen me use this so much. What's great about both of these palettes is they both have a nice blue, a nice peach, a nice yellow, and a nice purple option, and a nice green. So you have your green, your blue, and your nice lilac purple, your nice peach. So they do have a lot of similarities, and the yellow. The only thing that's missing is this one is missing like a white and a gray. I will swatch that in a second for you guys, but I also wanted to share this guy. I want to make a disclaimer. I haven't tried this palette out yet, but I still want to show it to you guys because I was like, you know what? These look like really similar. This is the Sigma Cream de Couture eyeshadow palette. I don't even know if it's still available, but these remind me like of a lot of like that same pastel vibe. You have the purple there, the green, the blues. So if you are looking for an alternative to the Kat Von D eyeshadow palette, you might want to look into getting the Sigma, what's it called? Cream de Couture palette, or the Wet n Wild Poster Child. So here are the swatches. So as you can see, the Wet n Wild one is more pinky purpley, whereas this one is more peachy, but the yellows are very similar. You just get more brightness from the Kat Von D, and then the Wet n Wild one is a bit more muted. I want to swatch this purple and compare it to, oh, and let's do the green too. Which green? Let's do this one. But let's compare it to the Kat Von D. Oh, so that's pretty close. So we have the Kat Von D and then the Sigma Couture palette. So there you have it, you guys. Those are the 5 high-end eyeshadow palettes and their cheap alternatives. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I personally enjoyed going through my collection, like finding the little dupes, because it's just so exciting to find drugstore affordable alternatives. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to give me a like if you guys did enjoy it. Also, don't forget to subscribe and sign up for notifications by clicking the little bell icon beside the subscribe button. And that is pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys. Mwah.